It's time to fire it up.
Why you gotta make me feel inferior? Because I'm on the grill, B.
From the chow.
Food for action.
To the gear.
It's 122,000 BTUs of charred boiling power.
To the drinks.
Drink some beers.
These guys have you covered.
We're just kicking back out here, just having a barbecue.
This is the Grilling Guide.
Welcome. You listen to Grilling Guys on the Grilling Guys Talk Network. Hey, it's the weekend. Last one in May, first part of June. Here we go. Summer is upon us, and hopefully you're dusted off your grill and smoker and whatever else you're cooking on, and you're getting her going. But I'm Jop, and he's Barbecue Bob. What's cooking, baby?
Hey, thanks, guys. Conrad, thanks for producing, as usual.
Hey.
Conrad is a legendary country DJ, I guess is what you used to call him.
Yeehaw,
Didn't
yeah.
you? Did you spin records at one time?
When I first started, I did up in Boyne City, but my first station, yeah. And they had Q burns on them. I'll tell you about that on the extra segment.
Was there
here.
a bird that you put on the turntable like Fred
Oh,
Flintstone?
no.
The one that used to drink out of the glass,
Yeah,
right? When it bobbed back and forth, right? Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining the wackiest, smokiest show on the airwaves. And we get together as a habit once a week just to torture the public and talk about all the things we grill and smoke. And,
Right.
Did do some great grilling and smoking this week, but my pride and joy was probably bringing out the old Coney sauce recipe from thegrillinguys.com. You can check out the search bar at the top of that website of ours, thegrillinguys.com. In the search bar, just type in what you're looking for, and we probably made it. And there's probably a recipe there, and it's probably plagiarized, but it's ours now.
And you can plagiarize it, too.
That's right. Put it in your next cookbook.
Right, yeah.
But I was so happy. I didn't use beef hearts because I only have one in the freezer, and
Saving that for a special occasion?
I didn't feel like grinding, really. I just put the grinder away after the sausage fest. So I did it with burger, and I just got that cow in the freezer and used 1.5 pounds of burger, and we're going to go through that recipe in segment 3 and talk about how to make Coney sauce. But you'll be happy to know I have totally weathered in and logged up the barn, and it's looking very, very cool. I'm no longer worried about how the project will turn out. It fits into the hill.
Turned? You turned it out?
Yeah. It's fitting into the hill. It's a weird place to build a barn because it's on a slope and it's on a hill, which made it very tricky for me because if you've ever built anything like with beams you're sinking into the ground and all this stuff, there are optical illusions. They start playing games with you when you look at the terrain sloping and your beams and logs. It's really difficult. You got to trust your level. But I'm happy to say...
Bubble don't lie, baby.
I'm happy to say I'm almost done screwing logs. I have a couple more to put up, and I'm done.
Good for you. I hope you don't miss that because that could be... that's been a long journey for you. You've
been a year.
Right. Yeah, I know.
At
You've been
least.
working on that thing on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But that's cool. It's done, and it's housing a big old smoker.
And it
too.
looks really cool. I'm happy with it.
Right. Yeah.
And go ahead. That's all right.
But anyway,
What'd you smoke this week?
Well, you know what?
I mean, on your grill.
On my grill. Nothing, actually. It was took the Memorial Day Monday and stained my deck, 8 hours, burnt neck from leaning over, put 6 gallons on that thing, and it was just a ton of work, but it's done. It looks great, and so I got that done, but we didn't have any guests over for the weekend. It was a work weekend, so we got a bunch of that done. But I got
funny they don't show up on a work weekend.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I built a deck for my son about 3 weeks ago, and when it was time to stain mine, he was ghost town. But anyway, it's all good.
That's shocking.
Yeah. So anyway, I do have a couple questions for you, Bob. Next weekend, right after the show, so I need the tips before the show. I got 2 things to cater for a graduation party that I generally never make. And one of them is half you, so I'm going to ask you about it, is they want beef brisket burnt ends, and they want smoked turkey breast. And we're gonna have Sobie on the show a little later, and I'm going to talk to him about the turkey breasts. But
Conrad, I've heard people say F you to me, but never half you. I'm not sure how to respond to that.
Well, just take it as a compliment. because if you listened a couple weeks ago, Bob custom cooked a bunch of meat for me, and I've got maybe like 50 pounds of brisket all cooked, vac sealed in my freezer. And I'm going to pull that out, and it's cooked. But what I want to do is turn it into little chunks, like an inch by an inch, something that, because they just want them like as an appetizer, but it'll be a main course.
Burnt ends are, that's kind of a Kansas City thing. It's nationwide now, but back in the day when Robbie and I would be doing stuff in that area, he had a very particular way he liked to do them, and that's fine if you want to use your point. But I think you can do burnt ends with flats. That'll turn out just wonderfully, and I happen to know that your flats turned out wonderfully.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Because cooking for my bestie here, I gotta give him my best game.
He did too. It was wonderful.
They turned out. I was very happy with them.
Yep.
So if you've got a flat, if you do briskets like some of us do, where you take the flat partially off and do the skinny part, I don't separate the flat from the point. I just cut the back end of the fish off.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It looks like a big old catfish, right?
Yeah.
So I just cut the back third off and smoke it separately, and then
why is that?
Well, because they cook at different rates.
Exactly.
It's so thin.
Exactly.
I don't want to ruin the flat. It's still great meat,
right?
If you don't overcook it.
Yep.
And those were all brought up to about 195. So, and they're in cryovac bags, so you can sous vide them to perfection.
Right.
But you'll probably want to pull them out of those bags and cube them, and then just roll them around in a little butter and some barbecue sauce and honey, and they'll be good. You'll have nice tacky.
Right. And I throw them on a grill in a pan, or do you throw them on a grate?
Whatever. Just on a big pan.
Right. You just want to dry them out, get them a little tacky.
Yep.
When you got that sauce on there. And so they want them for 75 people is what they're expecting at their graduation party. So I'm thinking maybe 20 pounds because I'm also doing smoked turkey breast for them as well, and then mac and cheese. It's an odd combination but it's just a stop by, drop by, leave your check, have a bite of food, and move on kind of place.
Yeah.
So
punch in, punch out. No time to chew the fat.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, but anyway, haven't done that before where we've already got cooked brisket, and but I think you're right.
Best way to do it.
Yeah.
Best way to do it
is just that, like you said, a little butter, a little honey, maybe a little bit of heat in the barbecue sauce, and then get them tacky, and we'll throw them in a pan and in a chafing dish, and there they go. You can pick them out of there with some tongs. And
well, in segment 4, we're going to talk about making barbecue sauce because we didn't get to it last week.
Right.
So maybe you'll actually make some scratch sauce for this.
Yeah, chances are I'll just make a trip to the store. I'm not going to lie. There's so many good barbecue sauces out there. I'm not going to take my time to do that.
It's just fun.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is if you got a little extra time. But for me, this is production stuff. I got a bunch of food to put together, and I'm going to do it that way. But anyway, so that, and then a smoked turkey breast.
Now those,
would you go boneless or bone in?
Those are that's another Rob Russell trick that we used to do in some of these classes. That because you get tired of doing ribs and butts, and the students, the people in these markets, don't want to come to the same class all over again, but they like the class. They want to come to another one. So we did one we called Fancy Grillin'. And in that one, we would do Rob's favorite ham recipe, which is on our site.
Right.
And we would do turkey breast. And the best way I can say is I would buy these fresh turkey breasts. They were cryovac or whatever, but they were boned. So they were boneless, but they had the skin on.
Yes.
And we would season them up nicely and smoke them to 160, 165, and pull them and wrap them and just let them park for a half hour, and then shave them beautifully.
As thin as you can get them.
And, well, at a decent, whatever, depends on what you're going to use it for. Typically, it's a sandwich.
Yep.
The thing with turkey is you can't shave them too thin or you won't be able to serve them because they're going to fall apart.
Right.
And then you've got a mess on your platter instead of so in this case I would shave them about 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah.
Slice them, and my mouth's watering. They're so good. That's the best way to do turkey.
Coming up next, we got Tim Sobie from Sobie Meats. He's going to impart some of his wisdom on us. Stick with us. We'll be back.
Barbecue Bob for Garrett's Appliance. Lots of folks are remodeling, and if you are, you owe it to yourself to go to Garrett's Appliance. They made my kitchen the perfect example of elegant and functional. Visit either location, 29th Street in Kentwood or 28th Street in Wyoming. Garrett's Appliance also has a super lineup of patio kitchen equipment, and you can count on their design team for a perfect outdoor grilling area. Visit garrettsappliances.com. That's garrettsappliances.com.
Now hit me. The Grillin' Guys.
Welcome back. You listen to Grilling Guys on the Grilling Guys Talk Network. Hey, it's the weekend, and it's the first start of June. Summer's here. Get out in your backyard and fire up a grill, and you cannot do that without having some great product for the grill. So my favorite butcher in the world is on the live line. Tim Sobie, Sobie Meats. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you very much. How are you guys today?
We're excellent, buddy. And I want to take just a minute to straighten out an old joke. And I've harassed Tim for years about his jerky because one time I sort of pranked him, or I just tested him. We guys probe each other, right, and just push each other. And I took a bite of some jerky he gave me, and I told him, "Man, this is about as good as mine." And he just looked at me and kind of smiled, and you could just see the disgust in his face. But I want to admit that while I'm very proud of my jerky, I make 50 pounds a year. This guy does a couple 100 pounds a day, and it's probably better than mine. So I have a confession on air that we can finally lay that joke to rest. There's nobody that does meat sticks and jerky like Tim and Teresa.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, so I guess you get an extra punch in your man card now, right?
Yeah, bellied up, didn't he?
I'm ready for all the punches I can take.
Yeah. So Tim, we're talking about all kinds of things to go on the grill. I'm not going to throw you a curveball here, but go ahead.
I will. This whole thing started because Conrad
What did I do?
sent me an article about a cut of meat.
Yep.
Bavette.
And I'm like, I don't know what that is. I know who to ask. So I sent it up to Tim, and he's up at the cabin working away, bending nails. And he's like, I'll have to Google that. So what'd you find out, Timmy?
So that is a new one. God made a new muscle on a steer. Didn't know it, but when I went to sleep on the 8th day, God made another new muscle. So,
But it wasn't on you, was it?
no, I wish.
I'm still looking for the ones he made me. Yeah, I don't know where they all are. Yeah.
My fat muscles are doing good, but that Bavette is they call the flat meat, which is way to the bottom, basically like the tail of sirloin and the very bottom of the flank.
Isn't that a children's book, The Tale of Sirloin?
Right, yeah.
No,
Oh,
okay,
sirloin
sorry.
of beef.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that flat meat, and actually we'll use some of that to make jerky out of as well.
Okay.
So, yes, and I've said many times, even like on a porterhouse steak, that tail meat, where that might wrap up for an inch to 2 inches, is part of that flat meat. So it can be a little bit chewy, but it is just packed full of flavor.
So time out. You call it flap or flat?
P with a pawl.
Yeah, P with a pawl.
Okay,
Yep.
so there's the quintessential, what we always say about meats and butchers. Kind of depends on the part of the country you're in, because what we call a tri-tip, they might call something else somewhere else. So anyway, great point.
So the tri-tip is a separate cut from the flap meat as well.
But it's close to it?
Yes, it's close, yep. Cool. And so as I say, let's say if you had a porterhouse steak, for an example, it's all like you're eating three different cuts of meat. The fillet, the smaller piece on the one side of the bone.
Yep.
The New York strip is on the other side of the bone. and then that tail meat or part of that flank flat meat.
So
and
the porterhouse is further down the body than the T-bone. How about the what's the other one I'm thinking of that is in that same cut? It's not porterhouse.
T-bone, sirloin, or T-bone porterhouse, and then sirloin.
How about Delmonico?
So Delmonico, the jury is still out on that, and I read a couple things recently too, where back many years ago, then a guy, made the famous what he called the Delmonico steak, and they haven't really made a formal thing. They don't know for sure. Did he use part of the sirloin? Did he use part of the ribeye? For years, it's always been that's like the eye of a ribeye.
Oh.
Is the Delmonico.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So the jury was out on trying to figure out what cut did he use.
Yeah.
But yes, that Delmonico traditionally has been known as that ribeye.
And you really never see them anywhere anymore, so it kind of is a fading fad.
And I would 100% agree, because on the ribeye itself, and we've talked about this, toward the smaller end of the ribeye is closer to the middle section, the separation between the front and hind quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So as you go closer to the head of the animal and getting up to the chuck, so the large end of the ribeye, there's a decal cap along the top,
mm-hmm.
and that is, in my opinion, that is the most succulent part of a ribeye steak.
You're right.
Decal cap.
Yeah, it's candy.
You get that on a standing rib, right? And then that flap will be on there, and if you take it off, then you've got the rib eye right there, but that flap is on top, and oftentimes when they debone them, they'll take that with it.
Jop and I fed a few hundred guys rib eyes like that, standing rib actually, and one of our carvers was carving that off every piece he served.
Yeah, like it was bad. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
He was fired.
No, get rid of that. That's a naughty piece.
He was walked off the property.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
So let's talk a little bit about tri-tips then, and I think a lot of people still don't really understand tri-tips or even buy them.
So tri-tip, that cut actually, I'll say, kind of generated from California.
Right.
And here again, on another day, God made another muscle, right? So it's just as time goes, there's another separation. And I think part of that, it might be on the line of, let's say, in a slaughter facility where they're separating the cattle parts out. And then somebody says, I wonder what this piece would be like all on its own. They separate that muscle. It goes on the grill that afternoon. It's like, holy crap, is that good? So a new muscle, a new name kind of a thing.
But not all processors even pull that out, do they?
And I'm sorry, what was that?
Not all meat processors even pull that out.
That is correct. So the smaller processors, let's say our local slaughterhouses, that maybe are doing just a few thousand a year, as compared to the big packers where they're doing 2,000 to 3,000 head a day. Those are the ones, when you separate that other muscle out of there, that's where now all of a sudden we get $20 a head more every one of those tri-tips we pull out.
Yeah.
So now take $20 a cattle, for 2,000 a day.
Yeah.
That adds up to a lot of dollars for beer money at the end of the year, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that tri-tip really deserves a little bit more exploration. Can you hold through the break and stick with us for just a minute after?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good. So coming up next, we're going to hit the tri-tip as well as the sirloin, because those are two, I think, overlooked cuts, and the sirloin is one of the best things you can use on your grill for kebabs. So you listen to the Grilling Guys with Jop and Barbecue, not kebab, but Barbecue Bob. We'll be back.
Fenn Valley Vineyards, located on the shores of Lake Michigan in Fennville, Michigan, 45 minutes south of Grand Rapids. It's one of the most beautiful, most picturesque vineyards in North America. This family's been making wine for over 40 years. You have to bring your friends and family to the tasting room and experience pure Michigan wine. Fenn Valley Vineyards.
Hi, this is Andy Havmeyer, operating owner of Hall Street Bakery, where we're more than just pastries. Join us for happy hour Monday through Saturday from 4 to 7 with 30% off brick oven pizzas and $1 off beer and wine. Enjoy your meal and drinks on our large outdoor patio or even take your pizzas to go. Happy hour deals also available at our sister location, Wealthy Street Bakery, which is on the corner of Wealthy and Union. Check out our menus online at wealthystreetbakery.com and also at hallstreetbakery.com.
With the grilling guys coming at you like a pit bull. We smoke butt, and it's a mittful. Backyard masters, barbecue blasters. Nobody smokes a T-bone faster. So when you see the grilling guy rig,
welcome back. You are listening to Grilling Guys. Hey, we've got a treat for you. Tim Sobie stayed over for the next segment, and we're going to talk about a couple more steaks.
Yeah, and thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. And we're talking about Tri-tips, and I agree exactly with what you said about California. When I was working out there years ago, I did some of these events with Whole Foods. And I mean, one of the big competition categories was Tri-tip. And all these guys had like 3 or 4 Weber kettles. That's all they would use. And they were Tri-tip freaks. You go into a big box like a Costco or something out there in the butcher case, and you're going to see an entire cooler full of nothing but Tri-tips. It's that big of a muscle out there.
So the Tri-tip, are those hard to get for you, or do you have them in the case most of the time?
Yeah, we have them in the case really all the time, unless if it got around a holiday, and then you had a little bit of a slight shortage. I hate to use that word, and then you think, oh my God, there's a shortage. I got to stock up. But just sometimes you get a little bit of a increase in sales over a holiday for some of those specific cuts.
Yeah.
But the Tri-tip is so full of flavor, and you can prepare it to the same doneness if you're going to have, let's say, a prime rib or even a tenderloin roast. But there's a lot more flavor than what the tenderloin is, way less money. And if you have 2, 3, 4 people, the Tri-tip really kind of works of like just the right size, so to speak. So then you don't have goohoodles of leftovers. But if you have leftovers of the Tri-tip, I'm telling you what, put that on some garlic bread with some garlic cheddar cheese on there. Holy crap balls. That's a good beef Sammy.
I was introduced to that by a very famous grill rep years ago when I started repping a certain line. And he cooked up, he actually took the Tri-tip and cut it into chops, not jops, but chops.
Right.
And we grilled those for an event we did, and I was gobsmacked. I couldn't believe. So you can smoke it all in one piece, as everybody does, but you can also go against the grain and cut it into like inch and a half steaks and grill it. And it's got a strange kind of connective tissue that reminds me a little bit of a decal or a point on a brisket, in that it's not a real visible fat, but you can see it's kind of connected with like a spider web of fat, and that you don't want to go beyond medium rare with a piece like that, because it's just absolutely superb, and it's not a real fatty piece of meat.
Right.
No, we get them trimmed off, and actually, because there is some silver skin on that we remove. But I'll be honest with you, I've done that. Let's say we were in deer camp, or it's just us guys, and what little bit of we get them, most of that fat is trimmed off. We'll leave the fat cap, a little bit of silver on there, and then when you smoke it or grill it up, there's extra fat. God, that's like candy. I'm telling you what.
Oh, yeah.
You take a piece out, especially when you get a good char on it. Oh, man, that's meat candy right there.
It's so good. When we wrap up shop here this morning, I'm heading over to your store because I'm going to buy a couple. My son and I are batching it with some kids this weekend, believe it or not. I know it's hard to believe. But I'm going to be smoking up a couple Tri-tips this afternoon.
Awesome.
Nice.
Hey, Tim, going to shift gears
Saturday?
a little. Oops, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say Saturday and Tri-tips. What could go better than that?
Yeah, maybe a can of Old Style with it, and then you're there. Yeah.
Hey, don't be promoting all my beers, okay?
No, I won't. You got to have some left for you. I get it.
That's right.
I want to shift gears. You and I talked a month or two ago about I've got a graduation gig where I need boneless turkey breast, but with the skin on, and that's coming up in a week or so here. So I got to get over and get them ordered for you because I need to feed 75 people that turkey. So I'm thinking maybe 20, 25 pounds.
Is that something you typically carry?
Not usually. So we used to be able to get them all the time. In BC before COVID, things have been different ever since, right?
Yep.
But with the increase, there's supply and demand 101 for you. The increase of the turkey breast deli lunch meats.
Yeah.
Then we can't hardly get those. We used to be able to order a skin-on boneless turkey breast, and we can't. So what we'll end up doing, John, we'll take a bone-in breast, debone them for you, then you have that boneless breast with the skin on.
Yeah, thank you.
So you're saying you can get the bone-in breast easier?
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
Yep.
Oh, so anybody could just take the bone off.
Right. Yeah.
In all those Dolly Parton turkeys, the bigger breasted turkeys,
right?
Those lobes are removed to make the deli lunch meats.
I think you might want to even smoke it maybe with the bone on and just take it off when you're done smoking
Well,
it.
I just thought it'd be harder to slice.
No, take the bone off after you're done cooking it, because now you've got something underneath it to preserve the juice.
Yeah,
I love grilling or smoking fowl with the bone in and on and the skin on because I think you get a better product.
Yep. All right. Well, there you go.
And we're talking on the air, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to say it's something that you wouldn't get from a Costco if you wanted to with that job, and certainly this conversation is not pre-staged or set up, right?
Right.
So what we could do, make your life easier, take it off the bone, but send the bones with you. So on the smoker, you're going to cook it on the bone, even if we just tie it back on. Then when you're done, cut the string, and you have that extra flavor from the bone like we would with a standing prime rib.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you are. This is my guy taking care of me. If you heard nothing that we've talked about up until this point, that's a butcher who takes care of the customer.
And
right there.
Worst case scenario, if you have trouble finding this piece, buy a turkey and just take the breasts off yourself and then strip those thighs and make some sausage. You got a lot of great product there to use.
Yeah. Yep. But so Tim, I'll talk to you early next week on that. So if we can get them in, great, and get that going, because I think it's a week from tomorrow, meaning Sunday, that I've got to deliver this barbecue. So that'll be great. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So
how many years has the Grilling Guys been going?
Just about 15.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to go next, is you've got an anniversary party today. I think that Sobie is finally of age and can drink legally, if I understand that right. This is happy 21 for you, right?
Yeah, so I'm finally going to get to drink a beer.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's been going on. It must have been taking them IV for the last 30 years. I don't know how that goes, but anyway. So congratulations. Tell us what's going on at the store today.
Yeah, usually we have a bigger event, but I got this project up north, and I haven't been in the shop as much lately. So for the day, like 11 to 2, we're going to have free hot dogs for everybody at the shop.
Nice.
And then later on, things relax. We'll do a bigger event later on this year. But at least come on in, get a couple free hot dogs, and we just so thank everybody that's helped us with our biz for 21 years. Most importantly is God himself. We couldn't have done it without him. But all our suppliers, our wonderful customers, and guys like you that have been there, for 15 years now, that we've had a great love and association with the Grilling Guys.
Likewise.
Our good friends at Jethro.
You better thank the wife as long as we're doing this list here, buddy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, I'm curious,
and,
Tim. We're talking
friends.
We're talking Coney dogs in the next section, and hot dogs are a big topic. What are your favorite 3 brands
of hot dogs?
Yeah.
I would say our homemade German wiener. Is that wrong to say that?
No. That's where I'd go.
I really like Yep, the homemade. And then my next one, I would say I love the Kent quality, which is local, and we like selling those dogs as well. They're Angus dog, and they're regular, which is pork and beef. So those would be my top three: the German Wiener, the Angus dog, and then the regular Kent dog.
All available at Sobie Meats. Tell them where you are, Tim, if they don't know already.
3450 Remembrance Road in Walker, Michigan.
All right.
That's our world headquarters.
All right. There you have it. Tim Sobie, been in business 21 years today. Get over, grab a dog. You're not going to want to miss this place. It's wonderful. But we got to go, Tim. Good luck with the construction project, and we'll talk with you again soon.
Yeah, thanks. Love you, man.
Very good. You too. God bless you. See ya.
Bye-bye.
If you're feeling hungry and you want something to eat, make yourself a list and head on down to Sobie Meats, where our staff is always friendly and they all know our creed. Come on down to Sobe's and let us meet your needs. We have kielbasa, kapusta, chicken, pork, and beef, seafood and hot sticks, a snack that can't be beat, dairy and deli, groceries, beer and wine. And once you shop at Sobe's, you'll shop there all the time.
Hi, this is Tim Sobie from Sobie Meats. Please stop by to see Teresa and myself and the whole gang for good old-fashioned service at 3450 Remembrance Road. Make sure you visit SobeMeats.com for our specials, and thank you for your support.
So when you're feeling hungry and you want something to eat, make yourself a list and head on down to Sobie Meats. And if you're really satisfied, there's one way we can tell. When you leave the store, make sure you ring our bell.
I am a guy and I like fire.
The Grillin' Guy.
Welcome back. You listen to Grilling Guys. You know, Bob, I just love those conversations with Tim Sobie. I learn something every time I talk to that guy.
Well, if you're a grilling guy, you can't ever know enough about meat.
Right. And there's a guy, if you've got a butcher in your neighborhood or your city and you're not in Grand Rapids, Michigan like we are, drive to Grand Rapids and meet Tim Sobie, because you'll never meet a nicer guy and one that knows more about his craft. But if you've got one in your neighborhood, your area, wherever you're listening, make a trip. Step to the end of the meat counter, ask to talk to the butcher, and just introduce yourself and ask a couple really good open-ended questions. Bob asked one just in the last segment, what's your favorite hot dog? Well, you know what? You didn't hear Kogel. You didn't hear Oscar Mayer. You didn't hear whatever you thought your local hot dog was. You like, okay, I make one.
Indeed.
It's pretty good. And then there's another butcher shop in town that makes really good ones too. Now, there's the best tip of the day.
Yes. And I'm bound and determined to talk about this homemade barbecue sauce because it's a week late. So, Jop, it's not for everybody, but some people like to make barbecue sauce.
Sure, I agree.
And it kind of ties into, I made Coney's the other day. It's not a totally dissimilar process because you're going to be cooking down tomatoes. And when I do Coney sauce, I cook down tomatoes. Some people just throw in tomato sauce. You do whatever you like. It doesn't matter. If you like the process, you're going to cook down tomatoes. When you're making barbecue sauce, it's the same way. Now, I just made a batch up when I did that stuff for you. And I think I made it up maybe the next day or two because I was pretty whipped after that. But I literally cooked down a couple of cans of these big Italian tomatoes.
Like a number 10 can, like almost like a gallon in there or something.
Yeah, there's a certain type of tomato it is, but it really doesn't matter as long as it can be even the sliced tomatoes. But if you get some of those big cans, you can get them all over the place, but they're great to keep in the pantry.
Yep.
So you throw them in your big saucepan and your big soup pan, and you start cooking them down slowly. And you just let them simmer for hours and hours, and take your wooden spatula on the bottom and keep that bottom clean. And if you have a soup pot that has a nice thick bottom, that's going to be your best saucepan because you have perpetual heat and you don't want any black on the bottom. But you cook that down and cook it down and cook it down, and then you start adding your ingredients in the profile that you want for it. So always, I'm going to use some pink Himalayan salt, and I'm going to use some coarse ground black pepper, and then I'm going to throw in a pretty good amount of paprika, and I'm going to go with probably a white vinegar, but I usually have more apple vinegar around, and it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I can't discern the difference in those. But I'm also going to go with some cayenne.
Okay, so you've got paprika and cayenne, so there's a little bit of heat in this.
Yep, and some garlic.
Yep.
And as you keep building it up and stirring it, you're going to ruin your taste buds because it's going to taste the same after a while. The next day you'll tell the difference.
Yeah.
But as you're making it, it's a little hard. So you might have to rinse your palate.
With you know what? Red wine works really well for
There
that from Fen Valley, or you can get an old style beer, whichever you prefer. But I didn't hear sugar yet. Is there any brown sugar in it?
Yep, that's coming up next.
Okay.
I don't do the sugar until later on because it's just habit. I'm always afraid of it making a problem for the bottom and scoring.
Yep.
But I'm not going to use brown sugar. I'm going to use pure cane, which I've switched to now. We don't even buy white processed sugar in our house anymore. We buy the pure cane granulated, and I get the big bags at what store, the Costco, and it's just better for you. The processing of flour and sugar is not a great process. We're going to switch that, but. So I'll use that, and I'll use a fair amount. And if I put too much sugar in, I'm just going to add a little more vinegar.
Right.
And I might, to play with it a little bit, I might even add some ketchup at the last minute. But basically, ketchup is just tomatoes and vinegar and salt and sugar anyway. So, but it will straighten your rudder once in a while if your sauce gets out of whack. And a lot of guys just make sauce with ketchup.
Yeah, as a base.
It's the easy way.
Yeah,
but. If you want to do it really au naturel, that process I was talking about will work for that.
And you because it boils down and thickens. What do you come away with? Like a gallon or two? When you're done?
Easily.
Yeah. Yep.
And so then I get mason jars.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you store it?
And you can either can it or you can just cap it off and put it in your fridge, because as soon as you make it, you're going to find that this buddy wants some, that buddy wants some, and your kids want some, and the next thing you know, you're giving most of it away anyway.
Sure.
And that's kind of why you do it, isn't it?
Well, sure. It's part of it. I mean, it's a little package of love from you to all your friends, because it's going to taste fresher, no question, than the stuff you buy in the store, because it hasn't been pasteurized.
Right. And that process is going to be very similar for our Coney recipe, only I'm going to start with either ground beef or ground beef hearts, and I'm going to saute those up with some very finely chopped onion and in some bacon grease, beef tallow, whatever you want to use. And I'm going to saute all that for a while, and then I'm going to put that in that same big cook pot, and I'm going to pour in a bunch of tomatoes, and I'm going to start cooking that down. And I'm just going to let that simmer at a very low temperature for a couple of hours. And after it's been simmering for a while, I'm going to take my potato masher and I'm going to start mashing that down, because I want the ground beef to break down very small, or the beef hearts, and I want the tomatoes to break down totally. And then I'm going to add paprika, turmeric, garlic, sea salt, black pepper, and you'll have to look at the recipe on thegrillandguys.com. Look for Coney sauce, homemade. And I got this recipe from a friend of mine in Detroit, a restaurateur. And at the last minute, he also adds a little bit of mustard to it. And I made it the other night, and I was so happy with how it turned out. And I'm never happy with what I make.
Right.
This was just dialed in. So the recipe is good.
Yeah.
Use turmeric, paprika, garlic.
And this is something that keeps as well, but it is specific for a Coney sauce.
Yeah.
So, if you're having sometime this summer, you're going to have a party where you're serving a lot of hot dogs. We talked about Tim Sobie just in the last segment. Their anniversary is today from 11 to 2. They're giving away hot dogs on Remembrance Road, just north of Leonard.
So what he was telling you there,
have a Coney dog.
What he was telling you there is if you buy your hot dogs there, they're going to be Kent. That means they're made in Grand Rapids.
Right.
I've been to that factory. I love their hot dogs. And I have another one that I used this week that I buy up at our favorite ham shop in Custer.
Yep.
What's it called?
What? Sanders?
Yes, Sanders. You said it
yeah,
right.
Yep.
Saunders is chocolate.
Okay.
Sanders is meat.
All right.
Sanders makes a hot dog that's really good.
Yeah. See, there again, though, local butcher,
Yes.
Ludington, Custer area.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of people vacation up there.
Yep.
Make the trip over there because your grill will light up with delight if you grab some dogs.
So I make this big batch, and of course I've got my kid and his wife and 2 grandkids living with us. The little girl's 3 and the little boy's 2. I thought I made enough hot dogs. They didn't eat their mom's favorite sweet potato fries or any of that stuff. They just kept, more hot dog, more hot dog. I had to do a whole nother batch of hot dogs. These kids are like carnivore deluxe.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, they're grilling grandkids.
You pick them up and you'll know it too.
Yeah, right. That's good. Well, it's always good to have the family around.
So that if you're doing like Jop says, if you're doing a hot dog bar, you try that recipe on thegrillandguys.com. Check out our sponsors on the right-hand side, too. And if you're on Facebook, give us a like, follow us, post pictures, ask questions. We love the engagement. We do this for fun.
Yeah.
We do this for fun. You can see by our profit statement at the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's really for fun.
Yeah, we post that online, but nobody can find it. Yeah. You've been listening to Grilling Guys on the Grilling Guys Talk Network. We appreciate you tuning in each and every week. Just make sure to get out in your backyard, fire up a grill, fire up a smoker, invite a neighbor over, get some cold beer, a glass of wine, whatever it is you like, and create some grill envy in your neighborhood.
Yeah, check out our sponsors on the right-hand side. They keep us on the air. Hit your Apple Podcast app and punch in The Grilling Guys. We'll see you every week.
All right.